The eyes show you the world, but they do not show you reality. What you see with your eyes is only a shadow of what exists. True vision begins when you stop relying on the senses alone and start seeing with awareness. To see without your eyes is not to abandon sight. It is to awaken a deeper perception that understands life beyond appearances, a vision that perceives truth, intention and essence. True seeing is not limited to the light that enters your eyes, it is the awareness that rises within your consciousness. The eyes can show you shapes, colors and movements, but they cannot reveal the essence behind them. True vision comes when you cultivate a presence that observes without judgment, a clarity that perceives patterns and intentions beyond appearances. When awareness becomes primary, the world unfolds in ways that the eyes alone could never capture. Awareness allows you to sense what is often invisible to ordinary perception. Every situation, every interaction carries an energy that communicates more than words or images ever could. Listening, feeling and sensing become extensions of seeing. You start noticing the subtleties in gestures, the emotions beneath expressions, and the truth hidden behind the obvious. This is the realm where intuition surpasses logic and inner vision begins to guide understanding. In the state of heightened awareness, the mind learns to distinguish between what is essential and what is illusion. The chaos of external distractions and internal noise no longer clouds judgment. Patterns emerge clearly and connections that were invisible before become obvious. The ordinary transforms into the extraordinary because perception is no longer dependent on what the eyes report. It is guided by an inner intelligence that observes life in totality. Seeing without eyes also transforms how you respond to the world. Impulsive reactions fade because you perceive circumstances and intentions before the mind has a chance to react hastily. Actions become deliberate. Responses become conscious and decisions are informed by insight rather than habit. The ability to navigate life with this depth of understanding fosters calmness, wisdom and precision in every choice you make. This inner vision reveals layers of life that are entirely missed by ordinary sight. Love, purpose, connection and the invisible currents of existence become accessible through perception that is rooted in awareness. The senses and the mind work in harmony, allowing you to perceive with clarity and depth. In this way, seeing without eyes is not deprivation, it is an awakening to the full spectrum of reality, a vision that captures truth beyond appearances. When the mind becomes fully present, it begins to perceive what the ordinary senses cannot detect. The eyes may see shapes and colors, the ears may hear sounds, but these senses only capture fragments of reality. True perception arises when the mind itself becomes a sense capable of noticing subtle energies, intentions and patterns that lie beyond physical perception. This awareness does not depend on effort. It emerges naturally when the mind stops being distracted and starts observing without interference. Through this heightened awareness, the invisible becomes visible. You start sensing the undercurrents of every situation, the unspoken emotions in every interaction, and the hidden motives that guide actions. Ordinary observation cannot detect these layers because the senses alone report only the surface. Awareness integrates these fragments, creating a holistic vision of reality that is far richer than what the eyes can offer. The mind as a primary sense also sharpens intuition. When you are fully present, inner signals and subtle nudges become clearer, guiding your understanding and decisions. You no longer rely solely on what is obvious, you begin to trust the deeper intelligence of your consciousness. This form of perception allows you to see beyond appearances and navigate life with insight, clarity and discernment that ordinary senses cannot provide. Awareness as the dominant sense transforms how you respond to the world. Reactions are no longer impulsive or conditioned by habit, they are measured, deliberate and informed by understanding. You perceive the consequences of actions before they manifest and act in harmony with the larger patterns of life. This ability to sense and respond consciously gives you a strength and precision that mere physical sight cannot achieve. As this inner perception deepens, the mind begins to notice subtleties in everything, the energy of people, the flow of events, and the rhythms of life itself. The ordinary world starts revealing extraordinary truths, and what once seemed random or chaotic becomes coherent and meaningful. Awareness as the primary sense allows you to move through life with clarity, insight and intelligence, perceiving not just what is seen, but what truly exists. Life is composed of subtle patterns that run beneath every action, word and event. These patterns are not always visible to the ordinary eye, yet they shape outcomes, influence behavior and guide the flow of events. When you begin to observe with awareness rather than mere sight, these patterns start to reveal themselves. Every repetition, every sequence, and every seemingly small action carries a message that can only be perceived through attentive observation. Patterns are the language through which life communicates its principles. The same situations, challenges, and interactions repeat until you recognize the lesson embedded within them. By noticing these recurring patterns, you gain insight into cause and effect, intention and consequence. Life becomes less chaotic when you understand that nothing happens randomly, everything has a rhythm, a reason, and a subtle design. Observing patterns also sharpens perception of people and relationships. You begin to notice behaviors that indicate deeper motivations, unspoken emotions and hidden dynamics. The gestures, tones, and actions that once seemed insignificant now carry meaning. Recognizing these patterns allows you to interact more wisely, respond more intelligently, and anticipate outcomes before they fully unfold. Through consistent attention to patterns, the mind develops a kind of inner vision that goes beyond ordinary perception. You begin to recognize the energies and tendencies that drive not only others but yourself. This awareness transforms how you navigate life, allowing you to make decisions based on understanding rather than reaction. Patterns act as a roadmap, revealing what is functional and what is destructive, guiding your actions with clarity. The observation of patterns ultimately connects you to the larger flow of life. It shows you that every event, interaction and moment is interconnected, each part reflecting a greater whole. By seeing these subtle structures, you begin to move with the currents of existence rather than against them. Life stops feeling random and your perception expands into a deeper intelligence that is aware of both the visible and invisible forces shaping reality. Listening is more than the act of hearing sounds, it is the art of perceiving the energy behind every word. When you truly listen, you feel the vibrations of emotion and intention that words alone cannot convey. The tone, the pause, and even the silence between words carry meaning, and a mind attuned to these subtleties can understand far more than what is spoken. Listening deeply transforms ordinary conversations into revelations of thought, feeling, and purpose. When you listen with presence, you begin to notice layers that are often missed. Words may communicate one thing, but the underlying energy can tell an entirely different story. A subtle hesitation, a shift in pitch, or the smallest change in expression can reveal hidden truths, fears, or desires. The more attentive you're listening, the more accurately you perceive these signals, allowing you to grasp the full context of any situation. Deep listening also cultivates empathy. By perceiving not just the words, but the emotions and intentions behind them, you connect with the inner world of others. This form of listening creates understanding without judgment, allowing you to respond with insight rather than reaction. Relationships strengthen because communication becomes a bridge rather than a battlefield, and connections deepen when people feel genuinely heard. This kind of listening sharpens your intuition. As you attune to vibrations beyond spoken language, your inner guidance becomes more reliable. You start to sense motivations, hidden challenges, and opportunities that are invisible to those who listen only superficially. Deep listening trains the mind to absorb more than facts. It absorbs patterns, tendencies, and the unspoken currents that guide interactions. Listening deeply ultimately transforms perception and decision-making. When the mind receives not only the explicit message, but also the subtle undertones, your understanding becomes multidimensional. You are no longer deceived by appearances or distracted by superficial details. Every conversation, encounter, and moment becomes a source of insight, and the clarity gained from attentive listening enhances every aspect of life, guiding action with precision and awareness. Energy surrounds everything, moving through people, places, and moments in ways that the ordinary senses cannot detect. When your awareness attunes to these subtle vibrations, you begin to perceive what is normally invisible. Every interaction carries an energy that speaks louder than words. Every environment resonates with intentions, and every decision leaves traces that only a conscious mind can notice. Recognizing this energy gives depth and clarity to perception beyond what the eyes can see. Perceiving energy requires the mind to be still and focused. A restless mind cannot detect subtle currents, and a distracted consciousness misses the signals hidden in every moment. When attention becomes steady, the energies of thoughts, emotions, and actions become visible through their effects. You begin to sense harmony and discord, strength and weakness, intention and hesitation, not by analyzing, but by observing the flow of energy itself. Energy perception transforms understanding of people and situations. You start seeing patterns of behavior and emotion that reveal intentions before they are acted upon. Gestures, tones, and body language become channels through which energy communicates truth. By tuning into these vibrations, you gain insight into motives, possibilities, and consequences, enabling responses that are deliberate and informed rather than reactive or superficial. Awareness of energy also deepens intuition. When you sense the subtle undercurrents around and within yourself, choices become guided by insight rather than logic alone. Situations that once seemed ambiguous gain clarity, and the mind learns to move in alignment with the natural currents of life. Perceiving energy allows action to flow with precision, creating results that are in harmony with reality rather than forced against it. The practice of sensing energy integrates perception, intuition, and presence into a unified vision. Life stops being a series of random events and patterns emerge that guide understanding and action. Every interaction, every environment, and every choice becomes an opportunity to align with truth, to act with awareness, and to navigate the unseen forces shaping reality. This awareness cultivates strength, clarity, and intelligence far beyond the reach of ordinary sight. Intuition is the inner compass that guides you beyond what the mind can calculate or predict. Logic can analyze, compare, and conclude based on evidence, but it often fails to perceive what lies beneath the surface. Intuition moves silently, effortlessly sensing connections, patterns, and possibilities that are invisible to rational thought. When you trust this inner knowing, decisions are informed by a deeper intelligence that surpasses reasoning alone. Relying on intuition sharpens perception of both self and environment. You begin to sense outcomes, intentions, and subtle dynamics before they manifest outwardly. Situations that appear confusing or contradictory to logic start to reveal their coherence, and you understand the underlying forces at work. Intuition does not require proof, it requires attentiveness and alignment with your inner awareness. Intuition grows stronger when the mind is still and the heart is calm. A restless, anxious mind distorts subtle signals, making them harder to recognize. When you cultivate silence within, intuition communicates clearly through a quiet, persistent knowing. It is not loud or forceful, yet it carries authority and precision, guiding action with a clarity that reasoning often cannot achieve. Intuition also teaches trust in yourself and your perception. The mind seeks certainty, demanding evidence for every step, but intuition allows you to act confidently even when proof is absent. This trust develops discernment, helping you distinguish between impulses born of fear or desire and the guidance that arises from true inner insight. Decisions made through intuition are grounded, balanced, and aligned with the deeper currents of life. Following intuition transforms how you navigate challenges and opportunities. You begin to act with foresight rather than reaction, sensing outcomes before they arrive. The inner compass points you toward what is authentic and meaningful, even when logic sees obstacles or impossibilities. By honoring intuition, you access a level of awareness and understanding that transcends reasoning, allowing you to move through life with strength, clarity, and confidence. Inner silence allows the mind to observe without interference from constant mental chatter. When the mind is quiet, it is no longer driven by desires, fears, or expectations, and perception becomes clear and unfiltered. Thoughts that usually cloud judgment lose their dominance, and the mind begins to see reality as it is, without embellishment or distortion. This quiet state creates a lens through which truth becomes more accessible and understanding deepens naturally. In the absence of internal noise, subtle patterns and connections emerge that were previously invisible. The mind begins to notice relationships, causes, and effects that ordinary thinking overlooks. Events, actions and intentions reveal themselves in their natural form, and the world no longer appears chaotic or confusing. Silence allows observation to replace reaction, and clarity replaces assumption. Inner stillness sharpens discernment. Without the influence of desire or fear, the mind can evaluate situations and people with precision. Motivations, hidden agendas, and underlying truths become evident without effort. The mind is no longer pulled by superficial impressions, and judgment arises from direct perception rather than distorted interpretations. This inner quiet also strengthens intuition and deeper understanding. When the mind is free from expectation, it is open to signals that are subtle, indirect, or nonverbal. Awareness expands beyond the obvious, allowing insight to emerge effortlessly. Decisions, actions, and responses become aligned with reality because they are informed by direct perception rather than filtered through emotional or mental noise. As inner silence becomes habitual, it transforms the way life is experienced. The mind sees what is essential, ignoring distractions that once dominated attention. Confusion, doubt, and misperception diminish, replaced by clarity, confidence, and a grounded understanding of the world. The still mind perceives with strength and depth, revealing layers of reality that remain hidden to the restless or distracted consciousness. The most important truths of life are often invisible, existing beyond the reach of ordinary perception. Love, purpose, and connection cannot be measured or seen with the eyes, yet they shape every experience. Every decision and every relationship, these forces are subtle, yet they hold immense power, guiding life in ways that are… Inner silence allows the mind to observe without interference from constant mental chatter. When the mind is quiet, it is no longer driven by desires, fears or expectations, and perception becomes clear and unfiltered. Thoughts that usually cloud judgment lose their dominance, and the mind begins to see reality as it is, without embellishment or distortion. This quiet state creates a lens through which truth becomes more accessible and understanding deepens naturally. In the absence of internal noise, subtle patterns and connections emerge that were previously invisible. The mind begins to notice relationships, causes, and effects that ordinary thinking overlooks. Events, actions, and intentions reveal themselves in their natural form, and the world no longer appears chaotic or confusing. Silence allows observation to replace reaction, and clarity replaces assumption. Inner stillness sharpens discernment. Without the influence of desire or fear, the mind can evaluate situations and people with precision. Motivations, hidden agendas, and underlying truths become evident without effort. The mind is no longer pulled by superficial impressions, and judgment arises from direct perception rather than distorted interpretations. This inner quiet also strengthens intuition and deeper understanding. When the mind is free from expectation, it is open to signals that are subtle, indirect, or nonverbal. Awareness expands beyond the obvious, allowing insight to emerge effortlessly. Decisions, actions, and responses become aligned with reality because they are informed by direct perception rather than filtered through emotional or mental noise. As inner silence becomes habitual, it transforms the way life is experienced. The mind sees what is essential, ignoring distractions that once dominated attention. Confusion, doubt, and misperception diminish, replaced by clarity, confidence, and a grounded understanding of the world. The still mind perceives with strength and depth, revealing layers of reality that remain hidden to the restless or distracted consciousness. The most important truths of life are often invisible, existing beyond the reach of ordinary perception. Love, purpose, and connection cannot be measured or seen with the eyes, yet they shape every experience, every decision, and every relationship. These forces are subtle, yet they hold immense power. Guiding life in ways that are to see without your eyes is to awaken to life in its entirety. It is to sense what is beyond appearances, to perceive the unspoken, and to understand the hidden currents that shape reality. When you cultivate this inner vision, the world reveals itself in ways no eye can capture. Life becomes a symphony of subtle truths, and every moment offers insight, guidance, and clarity that cannot be found through sight alone.